Hello, punks. I don't check Discogs because I have a low attention span thing. Trying to work my way through it, but I thought I'd have a quick look at the THROB, the Sydney band that were like MPD Limited around the same time from Melbourne. They came and went in like 6 months. Yeah, or a year, about a year. Yeah. No, mate. Yeah, I'd say 12 months, maybe a little bit longer than 12 months, but huge success. Just and then came and went. But the one song that sent them straight to the top in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, as a Sydney band, was this one, The Fortune Teller. Now, here it's called The Fortune Teller. This is written by Aaron Neville from the Neville Brothers in the US, and it's not a great song, but the Stones, I have the Stones version of it here on Decca, and what happened was this went to #1, and Decca released the Stones version of Fortune Teller on the Stones one. I just went looking through them at Decca's. There's so many of them. It's too early. I'll just stick with what I've got here. But so Decca released Fortune Teller, which is the same song. It's just that on here it's called The Fortune Teller, and the Stones one's just called Fortune Teller, and they're both great. I bought them both at the same time, because I just thought, wow, this is too good to be true, They're both very good, but I think just about everyone would agree the THROB is better. It actually sounds exactly like the Ramones, like 10 years before the Ramones, but not the fast Johnny Ramone sort of guitar, but the vocalist sounds exactly like Joey Ramone, big goofy sort of voice, really strange. They started out like most of the great Sydney bands in particular, but the Aussie bands in the 60s, most of them were in surf instrumental bands before they got vocalists on board, and so that's why they had really good musical skills, just like I have very, very poor verbal skills. And so I always keep this handy in case someone sneaks up behind me while I'm making these videos. And I learned something from the Keith Richards book, Life. You never bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, we all know that. Never pull a knife unless you intend to use it. Well, I learned that the hard way. But he taught me one great lesson, which I never thought of. This is if you really want to, if say an old guy like me in my 70s, I've had young blokes here before try and break in and stuff. I used to be able to scare them off, but now I'm just getting too old. I can't even bluff now. But in his book, he said if you just want to get them to piss off, you just slash them across their forehead. That'll do perfectly, Stanley. Just slash them across the forehead. It's all it is skin and bone there, but the blood just gushes down like a waterfall, and they freak out and run away. So this one's not mint, but it's in great condition. The THROB, the Fortune Teller, and I just looked up Discogs just out of interest, and a near mint copy of this OG is up. There's only one up at the moment, and the seller wants $583 for it. This one I'll never reach that because it's got too much fine. This one got a hiding, you know what I mean? It's like went round all the parties and things. It still sounds great. These things are mono bloody singles are bulletproof. They just great. And this one is in a slightly better nick. Is the follow-up, which was a complete flop. It didn't even make the top 40. I think the highest level was 42. These have both got pretty decent B-sides too. Believe in Me, a band composition, which was actually the A side. Well, no, that's not true. Some people mistake that A on these Australian singles to mean the A side. No, that A stands for Australian composition. And it was a way of trying to get the disc jockeys to promote Australian bands. But here, they've actually claimed both. And see, on that side of the fortune teller, there's no A. Now, on the B side, Believe in Me, there's the A. Now, on the follow-up, which is just, you wouldn't even know it's the same band, that this is a psych. That's sort of a pop punk. This is a psych masterpiece. This is unbelievably heavy. Black, the THROB. And it's the old English folk song, Black is the Colour of My True Love's Hair. But this thing's sort of, it's like, whoa, it's proto-Sabbath or something, Black Sabbath. It's heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. They've slowed it right down, and it's got really creepy sort of atmosphere and monster guitar on this. Monster guitar on Fortune Teller too. That's why it's better than the Stones. It's a really Martin Van Wyck. Martin Van Wyck, sorry. There's a lot of Dutch people out here, in the 60s in bands. There's one in the Easy Beats, but Martin Van Wyck was the guitar on this. And Burgess, the drummer, ended up joining the Masters Apprentices. John Bell was briefly, I think, in the Creatures originally. And Peter Figures played in a lot of bands. These guys sort of were in heaps of other bands before and after the THROB, and some of them more successful than others. But so I'm getting off track again. So this was the follow-up, which got to 42 and didn't even hit the top 40. And there's none listed. There's none. It's not even listed on Discogs. This is rare as. And so they've actually claimed the song. They've just called it Black. They've actually claimed it as an Australian composition. Look at that, cheeky little devils. But that's what you can do. It's like that bloody Bob Dylan creep. All he does is steal old English folk songs and put lyrics on it. Like, I was walking down the street and kicked a can or something, and I put a coin in a phone box. Lyrics, to some old English folk song, and becomes a hit. And the B-side is written by Van Wyck. Turn My Head. That's another good one. Wow. Great single, this. I'm so glad I found this. I won this in an auction a long time ago. And the guy this is back in the days when auctions were by mail. And you didn't know if you'd won, or you'd be on tenterhooks waiting for a letter to arrive. And the guy sent a letter and he said, "You've won the auction for Black by the THROB." And I put in a high bid at the time, which was about $70, which is pretty high for whenever. It was a long time ago. And he was a really good, decent bloke. I bought quite a few things off him. And he said, "Look, the condition's not worth 70. He said, you've won the auction, but I'm not going to charge you the 70 that you've offered, because it's just got it's got a lot of hairline scratches, but nothing major." And I think I got it for about half price, so I was really happy. He's a nice bloke, and actually plays great. These old mono singles, it doesn't matter. It can be that's not covered in them, but they can be literally covered in hairline scratches, and even have the occasional slightly deep gouge. You don't even hear it, because it's the mono. You get down in the groove there. Anyway, I'm waffling. Time for another coffee.